The New York Islanders return to action tonight against the Pittsburgh Penguins. We have the latest injury updates and some moves the team made on Monday, plus one Islander who the team needs to get back ASAP, and it may not be who you think it is. All that and more on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Tuesday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everybody who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you get new episodes as soon as they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at FanDuel. You could start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Again, visit FanDuel.com to get started. We have got a lot to discuss on today's show, and we're going to start with practice. Monday's practice kind of told us a little bit more about the Islanders' injury situation, and they made an interesting roster move. So basically, first of all, at practice, no Alexander Romanov, no Mike Riley. They are still both listed as day-to-day with upper body injuries, and we do not know whether or not they will be available tonight when the Islanders take on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, we will get a little bit of an indication if they do participate in some way in the morning skate on Tuesday. But I would say overall that the fact that they didn't practice Monday does not bode well overall for the likelihood that both of them are going to play. Now, one of them could, neither of them could. We do not know. But the Islanders also made another move on Monday, sending defenseman Samuel Bolduc back down to Bridgeport. And look, Bridgeport, they move Bolduc back. And I don't think, I have two parts of this that I kind of wanted to address. I don't think, based on the way he's played in the NHL recently, including Sunday's game against the Rangers, that Samuel Bolduc deserves, a lot of ice time, that he's proven that he's ready. Patrick Waugh basically said he needs to be better if he wants to play for us. If he wants to play in the NHL, he must understand and step up. He's a good hockey player. He has all the tools. Now he just has to figure it out. And I think that's pretty accurate. Bolduc has the skill set. He has the size. He doesn't have the confidence right now. And that is definitely part of the problem. And he needs to be better. He only played 5 minutes and 56 seconds of ice time Sunday against the Rangers. After the giveaway that led to the goal by Vincent Trocheck, I don't think he really saw the ice much, if at all. And so you've got a situation where, Bolduc probably doesn't deserve the way he's playing right now to be called up to the big team. The problem is this. Last year, they wasted Bolduc in the sense that he got to the point where they couldn't send him down to Bridgeport without exposing him to waivers. So what ends up happening? He's not playing well enough to get into the lineup every day in the NHL. You can't send him back to the AHL because he'd have to pass through waivers, and almost certainly somebody would claim him. So he ends up barely playing, being in the press box for most of the season, and that stunts his development. So again, I'm just not overall pleased with the way the Islanders tend to handle their younger players. We very often see young players make a mistake and then get benched or get sent down. And again, I don't think Bolduc in this particular instance deserves to stay up and play more. But my point is that philosophically, the way the Islanders approach their younger players, they end up getting benched pretty much right away when they make a mistake. And then veteran players can make the same mistake over and over and over again, and they continue to be put out there in the lineup day after day with no consequences, and they get to make the same mistakes over and over and over again. Maybe they'll miss a shift as a result of making a really bad play. So I think you need to live with young players' mistakes at some point in order to get them to that next level. And whether they're playing in Bridgeport or playing in the NHL, they need to play. You're not going to get better sitting in the press box. And we still don't know, if they send Bolduc down to Bridgeport, they're going to need another defenseman. So does that mean that they think either Riley or Romanov might be available tonight? We don't know. It's possible. Or are they planning on bringing up or acquiring another defenseman before the game? We don't know that either. But again, we'll keep you up to date on X, and we'll update you as soon as news breaks. Again, follow me on X at IceWarsNYR, One player I think that the Islanders really need back, and need back as soon as possible. And, you could talk about Barzal, and yeah, they do need Barzy back, not going to lie. You want Duclair back, obviously, ASAP. You want to make sure that, you get as many players back as quickly as possible, especially since you're missing 2/3 of your top line and 3 defensemen right now. That's a mess. But I think the one guy this team really, really needs back to solidify what's left of that blue line is Alexander Romanov. I think Romanov is the guy that this team really, he's been their best defenseman so far through the first dozen games. And they are now 0-4 when Romanov is not in the lineup. So not only is Romanov sort of their best defensive defenseman right now, but he's one of the few players on this team who actually is physical. And, I've heard from a lot of you talking about the lack of physicality up and down this lineup. And obviously, you need more of that. Romanov has missed 4 games, and yet he has 16 hits in 8 games. So, that would give him a little bit more in the hit department, but it's not just hits. He's blocked 21 shots. He does play a physical style that the Islanders need. And to take it a step further, the one thing you get with Alexander Romanov that is very helpful to this team, Noah Dobson this year, and really the last 20, 25 games of last year as well, but this year in particular, he's been dreadful in his own zone. Defensively, Dauber has struggled in a really, really big way. And Romanov being his partner, you have your best defensive defenseman going on the same pairing with a guy who's struggling mightily in his own zone. Romanov also does occasionally give you a nice little offensive play. I mean, yeah, he's got 2 assists in 8 games. Not going to say he's contributing in a huge way, but clearly He's capable of occasionally giving you a little juice offensively. One of those 2 assists was just a beautiful pass to set up a one-timer. And Romanov is also one of only 3 players on this team with a plus minus. Yeah, it's Romanov, Riley, and Max Siplikov, all with a +1 through the first 12 games of the season. But you need Alexander Romanov back. He stabilizes the blue line. He adds some physicality. He helps cover up some of the problems that Dobson creates with his lack of defense. And he can help kill penalties, which this team, as we all know, desperately needs help with. He adds a more physical style. Alexander Romanov, out of, all the guys, he's been their best, most consistent defenseman this season so far. They need him back in the lineup. All right. We have got more to get to on today's show. We're going to answer a couple of mailbag questions from you, the fans, and address some of your concerns. We'll also preview tonight's game against the Pittsburgh Penguins, another divisional matchup. And for our Islanders' birthday of the day, a Russian who later served as the Islanders' captain and was with the team from the early to late 2000s, for most of the 2000s, after coming over in a big trade. We'll see if you can guess who that is. We've got all of that and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at Indeed. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets. And Islander fans, check out all the latest odds for the Islanders and Penguins tonight. Does Bo Horvat come up with a big goal? Can the Islanders shut down Sidney Crosby, who's always been an Islander killer? Check out all the odds at FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com and join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. So let's get to some mailbag questions. I know I mentioned it, and we've had a few. I want to start with David from Manhattan. And David comes out with this: I am firmly in the trade Dobson camp. Yes, he had a slow start last year and showed significant improvement. However, I would not give high dollars or term to someone who has been as inconsistent as him. We have enough long-term deals that haven't worked out. I'd move him for more players and or picks and avoid another bad contract on the books. Your thoughts? First of all, David, thank you for the question. I do appreciate that. And it's a tough one. I think the whole situation with Noah Dobson is one of the more challenging for Lou Lamoriello or whoever the Islanders' next, decision maker is going to be, because this team, without question, is, they've got some tough decisions to make. And Dobson, look, defensively, I agree. He has been dreadful. And it hasn't just been this year. Dreadful includes, the way that he's been playing over the last, year and a half, really. Like I said, dating back to the last 25 or so games plus playoffs a year ago. So the question now becomes, how do you handle it? And you have a few things you could do, okay? Right now, based on the way he's playing, do I think that Noah Dobson deserves an 8-year, $8.5 million contract? No, I don't. I don't think that, he has played well enough to get one of those long-term deals. However, there's a problem, and that is this. You don't have to make that initial decision on Dobson right away. Dobson is only earning $4 million a year. And clearly, he cannot become an unrestricted free agent just yet. So you have three options. You could try to trade Noah Dobson at the trade deadline. That's, again, always a possibility. Or before the trade deadline, really. You could sign him to a long-term deal, which I don't think he's earned just yet, or you could try to sign him to some kind of a bridge deal. Because here's the fact about Noah Dobson. Noah Dobson cannot become an unrestricted free agent just yet. And he will have arbitration rights and be a restricted free agent this offseason. But you could still sign him to a bridge deal for 2, maybe 3 years, see if he develops, and then either trade him, sign him to that 8-year deal, or you can, move on and let him just go away for nothing. That would be foolish. But I think, Dobson is still only 24 years old. He'll turn 25 in January. If you sign him to another 2-year bridge deal, 1, 2, 3-year bridge deal at $5.5 million, let's say, I think that still could be worth it in the long run. Because there's one thing about Dobson. Defensemen who can score 70 points in a season don't grow on trees. And if you're going to trade him, and I'm not saying you shouldn't, you have to keep in mind, number one, he very well could go to another team and just take no prisoners and play at a really high level and make you look bad. Or he could just continue to do what he's doing, produce offensively, give up a lot of goals defensively, and occasionally you're still going to think, it looks bad because he still has 70 points in the season. But the good news is you could get something for him. So to me, I would sign him to a bridge deal and give him a little more time to develop, with the knowledge that you could trade him sooner, but it has to be, and I mean it absolutely has to be, a situation where you just get bowled over by an offer. And, that, if you get bowled over, that I think maybe then you pull the trigger. But someone's got to really overwhelm you with an offer for Noah Dobson, or else I'm going bridge deal first. I am not giving up on him quite that easily. Charlie, who is a longtime fan of the show and friend of the show. Gil, in some ways, the injuries make this situation easier to do what's necessary. Let's say you look at moving some players, for example, Ryan Pollock, or Anders Lee, who's playing well now. Patrick Waugh and Lou Lamoriello, they have to get creative. We are not a contender. No matter how painful that is, even when fully healthy, we aren't. We need to build a young, fast, mobile defense and a fast-forward group with scoring ability. Charlie, I agree with you in some ways, for sure. I think, and, everydayers know, younger, faster, more skilled. That's what this team needs to do. And I don't think this core is capable at this point of contending the way it's set up unless you trade away some of these veterans on bad contracts. What Lou is going to do, almost certainly, is hope that this team can stay competitive enough until, Duclair and Barzal and, everybody gets healthy. And, if you stick around and then get hot when everyone gets healthy, you could still try to sneak into the playoffs. I get it. That's what Lou is going to do. And I'm not giving up on a season with 70 games left on the schedule. That being said, this team, if you get to January and you get to February, then I think you make those trades and start to get younger, faster, stronger. The one thing, and more skilled. The one thing I don't want to see is management using all these injuries as an excuse to say, I still believe in this core. If we were healthy, we would have contended. I am going to run it back one more year with the same group with one or two little tweaks. That would be a huge mistake. So I hope we don't see that. That would be the worst case scenario, unless Lou doubles down, trades away more picks and prospects, and tries to, bring in a veteran to salvage this season. We'll see. It would have to be, let's not even go there. So, Charlie, thank you for the email. I did have to shorten it a little bit for time, but overall, I think the Islanders could retool and regroup if they aren't in contention when we get to the 2025 part of the calendar. We'll see whether or not they actually opt to do it. More to come on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. We'll preview tonight's game against the Penguins. We will also have our Islanders birthday of the day. That and a lot more still to come on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that could lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player promotions up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. So, again, download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the Prize Picks app. Use code LOCKEDONNHL for $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your opponents with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So it's the Islanders and the Pittsburgh Penguins at UBS Arena, 7:30 Eastern Time. Face off. The Penguins, as of right now, are 1 point ahead of the Islanders, although they've played one more game than the Islanders. Pittsburgh 5-7-1. They have won their last two games, and it's been Alex Nedeljkovic in goal for both of them. They gave up only one goal in each of those two games, so Nedeljkovic may be the answer to the Penguins' goaltending problems. Joel Blomqvist has been okay. Tristan Jarry bombed out. He is now down in Wilkes-Barre, Scranton. But Nedeljkovic right now is hot. He's got a .275 goals against, a 2-2-1 record, and a .903 save percentage. Blomqvist 2-4-0, a .346 goals against, but a .909 save percentage. So obviously the Penguins not protecting Blomqvist as well, giving up a lot more shots when he's in the goal. No surprise who the team's leading scorers are. Sidney Crosby has 14 points in 13 games. Evgeny Malkin also 14 points in 13 games. Crosby has 5 goals. Richard Rakell has 6. Lars Eller with 4 goals, but the scoring has been a little more balanced for the Penguins. They're in the middle of the league in goals scored at 15th. The goals against, though, 29th. So defense has been the big problem in goaltending over the course of the year for the Penguins, although, again, in their last two games, they've only given up one goal in both of them. Keep in mind, that was against Anaheim and Montreal, not exactly two teams that are tearing up the league right now, but still, they've played better. The power play, 12th in the league, a big improvement over last year where, despite all the talent, they struggled. The penalty kill is very good, 6th in the league, 86.5% success rate. The line combinations for the Penguins, Crosby, Malkin, and Rakell are the top trio. Lars Eller, Drew O'Connor, and Cody Glass are the second line. Noel Asciari, Michael Bunting, and Jesse Puljujarvi are the third line, and then it's from left to right on the fourth line, Kevin Hayes, Blake Lizotte, and former Islander Anthony Beauvillier. Matt Grzelcyk and Chris Letang are the top pair. Marcus Pettersson and Erik Karlsson are the second defensive pair, and then Ryan Graves and Jack St. Ivany are the third pair. Again, the goalies, Nedeljkovic and Blomqvist. Matt Nieto remains out and on IR. Brian Rust is injured, just listed as out. We will check on his status heading into the game. Look, you got to stop Crosby. He always saves his best when he's playing the New York Islanders. Let's see if the Islanders can do that. It's a division game. It's always tough. You've got to play your best, and we know the Islanders will be shorthanded both offensively and on defense. Let's see. Patrick Roy keeps saying, I like the way we played Sunday against the Rangers. We just didn't finish. And he himself said, same thing that I've been saying every day, as go to the net, get those greasy, dirty goals, get the tips, the deflections, the rebounds, screen the goalie, have it bounce off your ankle and go in, whatever it takes. And let's see if the team can respond. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And today is the 51st birthday of former Islanders center Alexei Yashin. He was the second overall pick in the first round back in 1992 by the Ottawa Senators, came to North America from Russia for the 93-94 season, scored 30 goals as a rookie for the Ottawa Senators, joined the Islanders in 2001-2002, and stayed with the team through the 06-07 season, where he returned to Russia and finished his career in the KHL after the 2011-2012 season. He had 32 goals and 75 points for the Islanders in 01-02. That was his best season on the island. In 05-06, 28 goals and 66 points in 82 games. For the career, 850 games, 337 goals, 781 points, 401 penalty minutes, and 11 goals, 27 points in 48 playoff games. with 22 of those coming with the New York Islanders. One of his better games with the Islanders, March 25th, 2003, the Islanders visiting the Chicago Blackhawks at the United Center. Garth Snow, the goalie for the Islanders, Craig Anderson starting for the Blackhawks, and in this game with the Islanders up 1-0, Alexei Yashin, our Islanders' birthday of the day, scores at the 2:04 mark to make it 2-0 Islanders. Oleg Kavasha and Aaron Asham on the assists. And then in the final minute of the opening period, with former Islander Chris Simon off for roughing, Alexei Yashin scores on the power play. Mark Parrish and Roman Hammerlick get the helpers on that goal. Yashin scores again in the third period at even strength from Kavasha and Asham. And then just 12 seconds after that goal, he scores yet again. Asham and Radek Martinek with the assists. And believe it or not, 24 seconds after that, Dave Scatchard scores. So the Islanders get 3 goals in 46 seconds in this game. They crush the Blackhawks by a score of 9-2 in this game. Alexei Yashin, 4 goals. He really played a strong game. He was a +4. He had 5 shots on goal, and he did all of that in just 14 minutes and 5 seconds of ice time. Alexei Yashin is our Islanders' birthday of the day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll have our key takeaways from tonight's game against the Penguins. We'll also have our weekly farm report on all things Bridgeport Islanders. Don't forget now, you can follow the show on X at Locked On Isles. You can follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars NYR VSNYI. I'm also live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game, so join me for some instant insight and analysis. And it's great to talk a little Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. If you want to send us a mailbag, lockedonislanders@gmail.com is the address, and it's always great to hear your questions, so feel free. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe, and of course, let's go Islanders.